You can expect a lot of things from Ferrari. Winning culture, a lot of frustration, upset fans most of the time, unless they're winning every single race.
Lots of upset fans.
But what I don't expect from Ferrari, Tim, is being cheeky. And they were cheeky this morning. Cheeky on Instagram. Did you see the Instagram statement for Fred Vasseur?
I did not.
Okay, so they start the post. It's a slideshow. They start the post with a picture of Fred looking concerned. He's got his hand over his mouth. He's doing the Steve Jobs sort of pose, right? And it just says official statement, Fred Vasseur. I'm like, oh no. Is he resigning? Were the rumors true? Was I out to lunch going, they'd be crazy to let go of this guy? And then, of course, it says Ferrari announced today that the F1 team has a multi-year contract extension agreement with Fred Vasseur, who will continue as team principal of Scuderia Ferrari for the upcoming Formula One seasons. And then it goes into his history. And then renewing Fred's contract reflects our determination to build the foundations he's laid so far. His ability to lead under pressure, embrace innovation, and pursue performance aligns fully with Ferrari's values and long-term ambitions. Under Fred's leadership, Scuderia Ferrari HP is united, focused, and committed to continuous improvement. The trust placed in him reflects the team's confidence in its strategic direction and reinforces a shared determination to deliver the results Ferrari fans, drivers, and team members expect and deserve. And Tim, I got to tell you, I thought that was a nod to all the crap that was floating around about him.
Yep. Yeah, that's right, Adam. That goes back to Canadian Grand Prix when we had all the Italian, not all the Italian, I shouldn't label all Italian media, but some Italian reporters speculating on Fred's time within the team and how they thought it was coming to an end. It was, I remember talking to him about it in Canada, and I just remember how pissed off that guy was. He was so upset.
And then, that's weird for him because he's usually jovial.
Yes. Yeah. And he's, I kind of look at Fred as that first line of defense when it comes to the team. And sort of he understood what I think his job was in that moment when the reports started circulating. And was to defend the team as much as he could and sort of stand in the line of fire, so to speak. But I also knew at the time that Fred was in negotiations with Ferrari to get a new deal because his deal ended or was going to end at the end of this season, and he wanted that extension, and they were negotiating back and forth behind the scenes around that time. But again, Adam, like you said, just a lot of noise around Ferrari around that time, around the Canadian Grand Prix. And I think, Adam, there was quite a few reasons why they would keep Fred on the team, but I think and we can dive into those later, but I think, Adam, it's important when your drivers have the buy-in, right?
Yeah.
Like if you don't have Lewis and Charles on your side or buying into your vision, then I think you're going to have a lot of issues trying to move the team forward. And I don't know necessarily if that vision from the drivers at the time of Mattia Binotto being at the team, I don't know if that was actually there or if it was starting to wane, right? Because I remember there being some rumors of, Leclerc's camp maybe starting to wane a little bit with Mattia's vision not taking urgency when it came to the strategic department. We can recall the Monaco Grand Prix. We can recall that race that was obviously a strategic blunder. But then you had when Fred came in, right? Not only did he have the strong buy-in from Leclerc, because those two have a really strong relationship and they've known each other for a really long time. Remember, Leclerc raced for Fred Vasseur at his time when he was at Alfa Romeo. But then you also had Lewis Hamilton's buy-in as well. And Lewis raced for Fred in Formula 3 and Formula 2, or GP2, I should call it, won championships with Fred. So those two also have a long, storied history built of trust. And also, when I say the vision, I think that's one of the important things, because from what I hear, with the Ferrari team and its base, there's a lot to control behind the scenes. And I think you don't want the upper management dabbling too much in the race team. And I've said that times before. And I think Fred is that good umbrella that sort of protects everybody who works on the team internally. And I think he does a good job at keeping the executive sort of, at bay and not dabbling too much within the race team. When Fred wanted to get Lewis Hamilton, everybody was on board. I just don't necessarily thought they believed that Fred could actually go and get Lewis Hamilton.
Right.
Sure enough, he was able to, convince everybody that this would be a good idea if they put some money into it and try and bring him over. And sure enough, right, Adam, like they were able to get him. And then we heard Lewis in Canada. I remember Lewis saying, like, if it wasn't for Fred, he wouldn't even be there. Like,
right.
He wasn't going to be there at all. I mean, we can dive more into like the stuff behind the scenes and culture change and all that stuff for sure. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure I pointed out that, the drivers, I think, played a big impact on this.
Well, and I think that's why it never made sense, those rumors, right? Like, I know everybody wants, I think sometimes we're guilty of in the media, many, many times, in fact, wanting to make a story happen because we'll want it to happen because it'll it'll drive clicks or whatever. And it certainly seemed like there were a lot of outlets angling for this. But, as you've talked often on this show about, Tim, it's for a team principal to really make an impact, it's going to take time. Like, look at the success that Sauber's having, regularly getting a car into the top 10, which would have been unthinkable the last, decade.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, obviously a lot of that can be contributed to Jonathan Wheatley's arrival, Mattia Binotto's arrival.
Mm-hmm.
But look at how long it took them to get to that point, right? Where they're getting, Bortoletto's asking to get past Nico Hulkenberg, or Nico Hulkenberg's getting on a podium. It takes time. If you're going to have success, it is going to take time. And so for Ferrari, which have, truly have had two monster opponents, Red Bull, like generationally incredible car.
Yeah.
Especially in 2023, but 2022's car was great as well. And then, just when it looks like Red Bull might fall off and Ferrari could take advantage, here comes McLaren out of nowhere, literally from the back of the grid. And, okay, they're going to win the driver's title now, or sorry, the team title now. So I think, ultimately in both scenarios, Tim, Ferrari's been number 2. And as much as, the Tifosi and the worldwide fan base that this group has would prefer they win because that's what we all grew up with. The reality is that they've put themselves in a position every single year to grab points when the other teams make a mistake. The thing is, McLaren and Red Bull before them have made very few mistakes for Ferrari to capitalize on.
Yeah, and I think, Adam, like if you take a look at what Ferrari has had to do to bounce back from like the 2019, what was it? I believe it was like a fuel flow penalty that they had got because they were, I don't know, there's no real confirmation of cheating, but like they were in a gray area with things and they had to go back on their power unit. And then, 2020 was going to be a struggle. 2021 was also going to be a struggle. And, Mattia Binotto having to try and right the ship when it came to that, but didn't bother to, I guess, get the team atmosphere, team chemistry, team culture changed for like the 2022 season, where Ferrari started off really strongly, and did have a chance at winning that championship, potentially even the Drivers' Championship when Charles Leclerc he threw it away in France. But again, right, like these are all things that we don't see happening behind the scenes with the team that create a lot of these dominoes that lead to that downfall, so to speak. Right. And so for 2022, it was a massive disappointment, obviously, for everybody. And when you see the changeover, Fred's initial contract starting in 2023 when he joined the team, you can see that the culture inside the team has changed. I think his overall vision, I think that is the most important thing or the most important aspect for this team, that has made the team better. So we don't normally, like I said, see these massive strategy blunders anymore like we did in Monaco. The car development has been better than years past, where I would argue that if Ferrari had a car like this years ago, they most likely would have started to give up on this thing and focused more on the next season and not so much try and stay in the fight and figure out how to make this car, which has a lot of potential, quick, and really learn and try and extract the performance from it. And a lot of that, I think, is because of Fred Vasseur. Pushes them to really, look, guys, the car isn't great right now. However, it has a lot of potential, and we need to figure out how we can extract that potential because we may be in a similar point at some time in the years ahead. So just trying to change that sort of mindset as well of really just digging in and trying to figure out the finer details to unlocking a lot of potential that could lay within a race car instead of just saying, okay, well, we're just going to move on to next season. And I think he's a big part of pushing this team forward. Also, Adam, he's done a nice job of bringing in a lot of new additions. Like,
yeah,
the one that comes to my mind the most is Vasseur. I mean, obviously Lewis Hamilton for sure. I mean, that's
the obvious.
No question about that. That's the obvious one. But getting Vasseur away from Mercedes, bringing him over to work on this car and to develop the aerodynamics for it, I think was a big move on his part. And I think that is going to play dividends when we see this new regulation in terms of car development, not in terms of engine development, because it's a whole other thing. But for me, when I take a look at everything that Fred's done so far, he is the right guy for this job, Adam. Like, when was the last time we really saw like strategic sort of blunders? And when have we seen them just absolutely give up on something when they decide that, hey, we're going to fast track this rear suspension? It may not be a massive, massive game changer, but it's going to help the drivers unlock a lot of potential that lays in this car.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's just so important to point out, because when we look at how difficult things are going to get for these teams starting next season, you need to have that ingrained mindset with everyone who works for the team, the thousands of employees that you have that need to understand that, hey, next season may not start great, but it could finish great.
Yes, exactly. So it's going to it's good to have stability at Ferrari, and as they work through these next sort of set of technical regulations, who knows, Tim? They could be the team to beat next year. We just do not know, and that's what's exciting about it.
Yeah, for sure. I think like when we take a look at even this car right now, like you had said, Adam, Ferrari's kind of been in that sort of second place position, whether it be to Red Bull and now obviously McLaren. But the fact that they were able to get this car into that second place position, to me, is quite remarkable, just of the way everything started for the team for the season. I mean, we got to China, like disqualified Charles Leclerc for no fuel sample, disqualified Lewis Hamilton for excessive plank wear from the Chinese Grand Prix. And so you're just like, what the hell is going on here? Like, what has absolutely happened to this team? But then, you've got 4 podiums in the last 6 race weekends. There was a moment before Canada, they were doing the European season. They were the second fastest team, not with the second fastest car either. So I think they've dug in really nicely to sort of pull out these results. I mean, obviously the drivers have a lot to do with that as well, but so too does the team, because it is a team sport. But I think, Adam, a lot of that is that DNA of sort of Fred Vasseur being put on, basically being instilled in the entire team of just never giving up on something.
Exactly. Well, Tim, I I'm excited for Ferrari fans. I think it's the right call. Definitely interested to read the comments and see what you guys think. So definitely leave some comments on that. Would love to know: are you pro Freddie or are you anti Freddie?
What do you think, Adam? Like,
well,
what do you feel?
The only reason I'm anti this deal is because I'm a McLaren fan. So and I'm a big Fred Vasseur fan. I think he's awesome, and so I think this is the smartest thing Ferrari could do. And listen, I think we had a comment a couple of weeks ago. It's like, I'm just here for Ferrari's downfall, like forever here for it. But in all honesty, like just, that's just kidding around. I think he's one of the better team principals, not just of this era, but of the last few. Yeah. And I just think that hasn't played itself out yet. Whether or not they win a championship with Lewis Hamilton, I think is immaterial. I think you have Lewis Hamilton there to bring the standard of the team up.
Yes.
And the ideal situation is Charles Leclerc winning a world championship, because I don't think there's any question about Charles and his ability and his talent. I think there's been strategic errors, there's been developmental errors, there's been lack of cohesion. We know there's a ton of politicking at Ferrari. Behind the scenes. It's from the corporate to the team level. It's just a part of the way things have gone. I think John Elkann, by the way, Tim, has done such a great job. I really do. I mean, that is not an easy job to take. And here's a non-Italian, by the way, coming in and doing that. And I think that is a real interesting dynamic they've got in there. They got a Frenchman running the team. They've got a non-Italian as its head, and you kind of, I think it's a new era for Ferrari that I think will open them up to so much more success. Does that make sense?
Those are all great points. I think also, you touched on it a little bit there with Lewis. We did a piece on Lewis, and could he potentially win his 8th driver's title with Ferrari, and I kind of look at it as it would be great to see that. It would be an amazing story. But if you're Fred Vasseur or you're, Benedetto Vigna or you're John Elkann, you still look at it like you're getting someone who has so much experience to go along with Fred to encourage the culture shift that you need. How can people argue with a 7-time F1 world champion when he's giving them notes saying hey, we can do this better, we can do that better,
we need to be doing this better,
we need to be doing that exactly. And so I'm not trying to throw any disrespect towards Carlos Sainz's way, because obviously
he's a great driver and a great worker, and
great worker, exactly, but he doesn't have those 7 world championships. He hasn't been in F1 as long as Lewis has. I mean, Lewis has been in F1 since 2007. He's been in the fights, he's been in the championship showdowns, he's worked with teams that he's seen the culture change within teams that they know they have to do to win championships now. And so, Adam, even if he's not winning a title for them, the amount of value that he's bringing to the team, just in that respect and that regard alone, is huge. It's
huge.
It's massive. And so I think getting, even if it doesn't work out for Lewis there, I think even getting Lewis on the team is going to take everything to another level. Even Charles Leclerc, this is the best I've seen him drive ever. And I even said it to him. I told him that to his face. I said, this is and he even agreed. This is some of his best Grand Prix drives, Grand Prix driving that he's done. I mean, Spa's a perfect example. You got Max breathing down your neck for the entire race, didn't make one mistake. He made one little mistake, it was over. Max was going to take that spot away from him, that podium place away from him. And so I think also having brought Lewis in has taken Charles to another level as well.
Absolutely. I agree. So with that, Tim, let's get you in the simulator and start our little track drive-through for the very windy and tricky Hungarian Grand Prix. All right, the Hungarian Grand Prix. Can you believe? This is kind of scary for me. I love this race, but it also makes me a little sad because it means that the summer's basically over. And also, it makes me sad that we're already like more than halfway through the F1 season.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I also think of it as I finally get to have a break.
Yeah,
That's the way I look at it.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
You know, it's vacation. I get to go away. We're going to Italy, so
Oh, that's
looking forward
nice.
to it. So it's exciting.
I get that.
So it's like when I see this race, I'm like, all right, 3 weeks off.
Yeah,
let's go.
that's
Not
fair.
Unless there's a big driver movement, then it's 2 weeks off. Let's go.
Hey, no, you never know what could happen this year. It's all out there. It's silly season time.
You're absolutely right.
So let's talk about this track because this is roughly half the size of what the Belgian track is, right? So it's 4.38 kilometers, 14 corners, 1 DRS zone on the start-finish straight. And basically, it's just outside Budapest. Have you been to this track?
Never. No, never this
I've
track.
heard Budapest is gorgeous. by
Yeah,
the way.
me too. I have one of the journalist friends of mine lives here. Obviously, this is his home race, but this is a race I told him that like I've always wanted to come and do. So I'm hoping next year I get that chance.
Mhm.
It looks incredible, like video, pictures, all that kind of stuff. Like when you look at Hungary, like it just looks gorgeous.
They seem to pull out all the stops for it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then they've redone the entire pit building. This is all new. The grandstands are new. So they've done a ton of work here for F1 and sort of similar to like Canada where it was kind of like, hey, like, let's make some changes and level up. Same sort of thing they've done here. So they've done a ton of work, Adam, for this track.
Now, as a driver, this track is what? What do you
okay.
think drivers would say about this track?
Go-kart track. That's what it feels like.
Really?
Feels like a go-kart track. You're so busy, dude. Whipping the car around. Like, especially a corner like right here, it's kind of like you're threading the eye of the needle. Like, and then you've got the next chicane that's coming up again. Kind of like threading the eye of a needle a bit. You don't want to overcook it too much. You can't take too much of the curving that's here either.
Because it'll slow you down?
Yeah,
It'll pop the car?
and then trying to like figure out for me, since I'm still learning the track, trying to figure out the gearing is challenging, and turn-in points and braking points. Like there's a lot happening on this track. Like these drivers are definitely busy on a lap around this circuit, man. Like when they get out of the car, like if it's hot here, when they get out of the car, dude, they must just be
Cooking.
fried, absolutely fried.
Yeah. Yep.
'Cause, I don't know. I'm already sweating.
Well,
This is just a video game.
Yeah, one of the things that you kind of point out every time we do this is like, well, if you're going into this corner, you might pick this visual cue, like the 50 on the
Yep.
side there. Okay, now I'm going to
Yep.
brake and slow down,
Yep.
and if I'm in a pass situation, that's where I late brake and I can
Yep.
get away with it, or I take a dive bomb sort of situation. With this many corners, it's got to be hard to kind of remember it all.
Yeah.
Although I know race car drivers, any motorsports drivers, like I don't know if you've seen this TikTok, but there's a guy who's a driver who literally can listen to the engine revving and tell you what track it is based on where the engine revs are at, which is kind of nuts, right? I know it's a little bit wild.
There's no way.
I believe he's motocross, but even so, it's an unbelievable sort of skill. How do you commit a track like this to memory with so much going on?
The more you do it, the more you kind of like lock.
Ooh.
Give me a break, Tim. The more you do it, the more you're kind of like locked into the rhythm of it. I think that's one of the things with this track is once you kind of get proper reference markers, kind of turns into like a rhythm sort of a feel to it, if that makes any sense. So you kind of know like, okay, brake, downshift, 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 roll the car into the corner, back on the power, that kind of thing. So
Right.
it's all rhythm based. I think that's why the drivers like this track so much.
Last year at this time, we were sort of wondering if Daniel Ricciardo was going to move up into that Red Bull spot
Yeah.
for Sergio Perez,
That's right.
and obviously, didn't end up staying in Formula One at
Yep.
all later in that season. In terms of what might be, and this is a weird one to ask you while you're sim driving, but there must be, for a lot of drivers, a lot of distractions in a race like this with contracts being renewed. Some of these drivers, I'm thinking specifically of like what Alpine has with Colapinto, where this is you're taking this like 6 races at a time
Yeah,
sometimes.
For sure. I mean, That's the thing, right? Is trying to figure out where everyone's going to be. But if you're a driver like a Colapinto or a Jack Doohan, you got to do well. If summer break's coming up, and that's when teams like to make their driver movement or their calls on their driver lineups for the rest of the season and that kind of thing. So, I mean, yeah, you just have to try and do your best here, man, and not crash the car, which is really challenging to do. This track is so unforgiving, man. Like a little mistake and you're in the wall.
People say that this is a Monaco levels of downforce type of track.
For sure.
Yeah,
for
like
sure,
just a lot of
a
stickiness.
lot of downforce.
Last year, McLaren finished 1-2, but not without controversy. Lando Norris started on pole, only to lose that position to Oscar Piastri. Where have we heard that story before? Lando took back the lead on an undercut, but was asked by the McLaren pit wall to give the position back. And remember, he was way ahead of Piastri. And he said, well, he's going to have to catch me. And then that was where really the McLaren rules sort of things started to occur, because they said, Lando, like, you need your teammate, you need his
papaya rules, right?
Yeah, papaya rules, that's right. Where they're like,
rules.
They're saying, like, Lando, like, you need your teammate in order to make a world championship push, so you got to give this position back. And you could tell that stung him. Now, they were able to sort of smooth that over. And obviously, Oscar has had his moments. Lando won a few weeks ago, and Oscar was pretty pissed about how that went at Silverstone. So what do you think this year with McLaren? And, do you think that they would make a call like that now?
I don't think so. Only because they're probably still so focused on the world title. Because, if you're looking at the way they've kind of run things, they've let these drivers race each other. I couldn't see them telling someone to move over, right? Mm-hmm. And also because of how close they are in the drivers' championship. Like, how could you do that? You know what I mean? Like, how could you tell, Lando or Oscar to move over from a victory? I just don't see that happening.
Especially with both of them so close in the lead. So it's really going to come down to, these two racing each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would say so, right?
Well, how does a guy like Max Verstappen, with, obviously the car not being in the best place, how does he handle a track like this? To quote Sonny Hayes, build for combat, this car. Would Red Bull do well at a track like this, or is the lack of straightaway going to hurt them?
This is going to be an interesting track for Red Bull. I mean,
you're in one right now. We're watching you, Red Bull.
They believe that they've got a car that's going to be good for a lot of different tracks. I don't know if they're going to be good here, man. Just because of where they were with Monaco. I don't see it.
You don't see it. Okay.
What I do see is me going off track, 2 wheels off track, and getting a black and white flag for some bull crap.
I love how hard you were on yourself earlier. Like, come on, Tim. I love that. I love that. I love that that's still in there. That fire still burns.
The fire. So I'm not 80 years old.
I know. But some people are like, no, I left that part of me behind.
I can still wheel a race car when I get some practice. Just need the practice, man. Look at this. We're catching personal best.
All right,
already.
let's catch this one and we'll wrap it up here. Oh, he's ahead. He's ahead. Ooh.
I'm going to overcook it in here. Yeah, he's got me. Damn it.
Yeah?
I think so.
Oh, Tim. There we go. Oh.
You got me. Damn it.
Damn it. 0.3 off of your personal best. So, Tim, in going through that track walk, we call it, it's really just you simming the track. I'm curious what driver skill sets, specific to which driver, who does well at this track? Who do you expect to do well? And more importantly, who do you expect to struggle?
I think both McLarens are it's going to be a toss-up between those two. This is a track that actually Lando Norris does go well at. But if we remember last year, this is where Oscar Piastri also got his first, Grand Prix victory. So yes. I think the McLarens obviously are the favorites. There's no question about that. The teams that could struggle, there could be a few. Let's talk about Ferrari first, and then we'll sort of go backwards. I think for Ferrari, this is a track where Charles Leclerc has struggled. He's even said it himself. This is one of his better tracks on the grid. And then that's where I'll be curious to see if the updates they brought to to the Silverstone British Grand Prix and also to Spa. If those start to get refined a little bit more, if it stays dry, I mean, how good can they be? I mean, Lewis is good here. And so I'll be interested to watch the qualifying battle between Charles and Lewis. And I'll also be interested to see how the race plays out for Ferrari as a whole, because I would love to see them to start being able to put pressure on the McLarens. That may not come until the Dutch Grand Prix or the Italian Grand Prix. However, it'd be nice to see someone else challenge McLaren, which could be done here this weekend. The gaps aren't going to be massive like they were in Spa because the lap isn't as big.
Yep.
Red Bull, like Max, is going to be fascinating to watch here. This is also a track I think Max can handle quite well. But if they don't qualify well, I mean, I could see this being a rough weekend for Red Bull.
Right.
I really could. And then also with Mercedes, I think it could be a challenging weekend for them. I mean, the race actually did a good article this morning, was done by Ed Straw, and basically it was talking about how Mercedes is ditching their F1 suspension, the update that they were bringing for their car, just because it, like we had mentioned on Sunday's post-race podcast, we talked about, Adam, is the direction that the car's gone in.
Yep.
And how that they need to figure out where they've gone wrong since Spain to figure out how to get back on the right path, because they do have a good car and they can finish second in this constructor standings, but they need to get both drivers comfortable and on track, and they need to figure out what's gone wrong with the race car. Obviously, a lot of it has to do with front end instability. So in the braking zone or braking and turning zone. And then on top of that, Adam, I'll be interested to see what Aston Martin can do here, because I have a feeling this could be a track they could go well at.
Okay. Oh, good. That's good to hear.
I have a feeling.
Like that.
But let's see. I mean, obviously with Aston's interesting, right? Because like their car is just so up and down, and I can see why the drivers get frustrated, because there are sessions where the car is like you're watching and the drivers look really good, the car looks really good, and then the next session all of a sudden it just goes completely sideways. Like and I think the whole team is just scratching their head at that moment of where did we go wrong here?
And it's got to be hard because you know that everything's going into next year, right?
Yeah, now it is for sure. Yeah, 100%.
So it's and it makes sense that it would, right? Adrian's doing the car, and they've got the whole thing going. I got to say, I'm curious to see because this track is a bigger challenge than I think people give it credit for. I'm curious to see how guys handle things, and I haven't checked the I'm going to check the forecast right now. Because I think that's important too, don't you?
I think it's supposed to rain for some of this weekend as well. Like, I think so. And this is going to be an interesting track when it does rain, because Hungary's
Sunday.
usually
Supposed to rain on Sunday.
Is that, yeah. See, do you remember when we got rain here for a race? I think it was 2021, and Lewis was the only one out on the grid starting I think it was a restart. Everybody else had pitted to swap from intermediates to slicks, and Lewis was the only one on the grid starting the race
because he's a maniac. Yeah.
Do you remember that though? Because
yes, I do.
Mercedes had messed up the call.
Yes.
To bring him in.
Yes.
I still remember that image of like a full Grand Prix getting going, and the only one on the grid to start it was like Lewis, while everyone.
And he was probably fuming too. Like, I can't remember any radio calls, but he's probably so pissed. Like, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That was the season. Well, I believe that was the Max and Lewis showdown season, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure it was 2021. Yeah. But again, like when it rains at this track, it's usually pretty chaotic, because it's kind of like a Monaco without all the walls.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got the walls, but they're just not as close to the track as they are in Monaco. I mean, even us doing that sim lap, Adam, it's like there are sections on this track where you really got to be on your toes, man, to really thread the needle through some of these corners and be quick. because you go an inch wrong here, a few inches wrong here, a few inches wrong there, and you're going to either lose time, spin off the track. There's a whole host of things. Take too much curbing. That'll throw your trajectory off. So there's a lot that goes into doing a good lap around Hungary, not only in qualifying, but also in the race as well. And so I really enjoy this track. I'm interested to see what it looks like with the new facilities. They've redone the entire pit straight. They've redone all the grandstands. They've redone the entire garages. They've redone the media center. They've built bigger hospitality. The VIP section of the pit building is all revamped. Like, it looks really beautiful from pictures that I've seen. So I'm excited to see what it looks like on television. So far, I've heard from some people that are there now, and it says great. Facility looks immaculate. So, I mean, good for them for getting that turned around in a short amount of time, because I don't know if people have been following, but they've had not a lot of time to really turn this circuit around. So essentially rebuilding everything from scratch, starting this time last year, like just after, like just at the summer break, they had the tractors, the cranes, the wrecking balls came right in, like as soon as the race weekend ended, and just demolished the whole thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and rebuilt it all from scratch. It looks incredible. It looks like they've done a pretty amazing job.
I can't wait to see it then. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, pretty impressive to see what they've been able to come up with there. It's a race I've always wanted to go to anyways. So
there's a Spanish Grand Prix next year that doesn't have a track built. I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe they could use some help.
That one's going to be interesting, Adam. I haven't heard too much about that one either, like being built and stuff. I'll be interested to see if there's any photos circulating of some shovels in the ground getting that thing ready.
Been a while since Formula One did a dirt track, but there's always time to go back. All right, so this is the schedule for this weekend. Obviously, Tim is going to be doing his post-qualifying show on Saturday. So right after qualifying, Tim records, we post, and we want to make sure that you get your updates throughout the weekend on how people did. So we'll have that. And then as quickly following the Hungarian Grand Prix as we possibly can make it, we will be doing a post-race show. So you can look out for Saturday and late Sunday, early Monday podcast release this weekend. And then it'll be summer break for us too. So looking forward to it, Tim. Enjoy, and let's go racing.
Yeah, let's do it. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.